second part of your focus lesson for the day, or for this lesson, is pretty much comparing numbers and putting numbers in order. The reason why you want to be able to approximate square roots is so that you can actually figure out which one's bigger whenever you get to fractions, decimals, and things like that. So number 37 pretty much wants us to compare these numbers using an inequality symbol. So you have 5 2/3 and you have square root of 29, and they want to know whether which one's bigger, which one's smaller, or if they are equal. And so again, if you don't know what to do, this thing up here says see problem 4, so let's find problem 4 in our books, which is right here. And again, it talks about comparing real numbers, which is what we're doing. It says write an inequality that compares the numbers square root of 7, or compares the numbers square root of 17 and 4 1/3. Notice they turned square root of 17 into 4.12310, which I believe they just simply did the square root of 17, which they did. And then here it looks to me like they just turned 4 1/3 into a decimal. And so what you want to do if you want to turn a number or fraction into a decimal is, remember, that's just a division symbol. Do 1 divided by 3, and that represents what would be after the decimal point there. So the 0.333 is why it's got the repeating symbol. And whenever you compare this number to that number, because 3 is bigger than 1, that means that 4 1/3 is bigger than 17. So going back to this, looking at these numbers and comparing them, we have 5 2/3 compared to 29, or square root of 29. I know it's going to be 5 point something because 5 is the whole number. I just need to figure out what 2/3 is as a decimal, and so I do 2 divided by 3, which is 0.6666. So 5.67 would be about what that is. And then we turn square root of 29 into a decimal, so second x squared 29, and we get 5.39, which means in the end, since this is bigger, that would be the symbol we would use, is that it is greater than square root of 29, because 5.6 is bigger than 5.3. Number 39 is comparing 4/3 to the square root of 2. Again, the way you can imagine this, it's hard to compare fractions to roots and decimals and all that, but every number can be turned into a decimal, so we just kind of translate everything into a decimal. 4/3, if I just divide 4 by 3, shows me 1.3333, so this is about 1.33. Square root of 2, again, take your calculator, second x squared with a 2, you get 1.41. And based off of these two numbers, 1.3 is smaller than 1.4. This would be the symbol that you would use if you were to work those out. Now the reason why we're doing that is so that we can actually put numbers in order, which if you look at the next section of 45 through 50, this is really the hardest part of this section here, because it just takes so much work. But either way, you got 1/2 on 45, you've got -2, you've got square root of 5, you've got -7/4, and you've got 2.4. And really all you have to do this is make sure you know how to turn everything into a decimal, and then just kind of order it out from there. So 1/2, if you don't know what 1/2 is, just do 1 divided by 2. You see that's about 0.5. -2, of course, is -2. Square root of 5 is 2.23, about 2.23 or 2.24. -7/4, don't worry about the negative, just do 7 divided by 4 and put a negative on it. That's 1.75, so this would be -1.75, and then 2.4 is already where we want it. Now in terms of order, we want the biggest negative first, because remember, the biggest negative is all the way left on the number line. And so in this case, the only negatives I have are -2 and -7/4. This is bigger than that, so we're going to start with -2 first. After that, we pick the other negative, which is -1.75, but because we want the original, don't write the 1.75, you've got to write it like it was in the question, so -7/4 would be next. These two are now off the list, and now we go in order. So looking at the smallest number here on the positive side, I believe it's 0.5, and so we are looking at putting 1/2 next, which means this is off the list. This is 2.24, this is 2.4, so 2.2, 2.4, square root of 5 would be next, and 2.4 would be last. And this would be your numbers in order from least to greatest. It just takes time. Make sure you know how to convert everything into decimals, and take some time now to raise your hand if there's any issues with doing that, so that I can help you out before we get going. Number 47 gives us -6 square root of 20, 4.3, and -59 over 9. -6 is fine where it is. Square root of 20 we need to change, so we do second x squared 20 and get about 4.47. 4.3 is fine where it is. We just need to get this, so that'll be negative. Now we just need to do 59 divided by 9, which is about 6.56. And if you remember again, whenever you start from least to greatest, you want the biggest negative first. You want the biggest negative all the way over to the biggest positive. So the biggest negative here, you have a -6 and a -6.56. This is bigger than that, so it'll be that number, which we have to write as -59 over 9, followed by -6. After that, we put the numbers in order from smaller positive to bigger positive. 4.3 is smaller than 4.4, so 4.3 is next. And then don't put 4.47 again, put the original format of the number, which is in square roots, and you end up with square root of 20. Once again, make sure you ask questions, make sure you practice. It's just practicing a number skill of turning fractions into decimals, turning square roots into decimals, and making sure you know how to do that. Again, take your time in this next part and make sure you practice what you need to practice so that you can move on to the next lesson tomorrow.